And what's up? All right, I got one guy. What's up, one guy? Who's this? Who's here watching? Hmm. It's getting a little late. It's 11:15. I have two people, six people. Moving on up. Jackaroo. Here first. Pizzulo. What's up? All right, we're up to 9. What's up, 357 Kill Bill? How's the sound, guys? Is it good? Thank you, Subo Hugh. He says great videos. So thank you. Thank you guys. Um well, 15 people, we're moving on up. Okay guys, I'm gonna try to get started. Guess what? I didn't do a video today. Um Feeling guilty. J-Man watching all the way from Japan. Love the videos. Thank you. What's up guys? Black Widow, Zinni, Tecker. What's up, man? One with the Cosmos. Anyway, so guys, nice, Paul McFadden. All right, guys, um, I wanted to talk briefly about, for a short time, just about my background. Um, Good morning, Teal. Um, I didn't do a video tonight, and I'm like guilty. I feel guilty. I want to do a video. Try to do a video every weekday when I can, as much as possible. I wasn't able to do a video today, guys. So, and I was wearing my new Fortnite shirt. So I hope you guys enjoy. Um, it's Fortnite, the world's worst video game. Anyway, I had a buddy that had this shirt made. So I don't know if you guys play Fortnite, but I don't. But anyway, I thought it was pretty funny. So my buddy John made it. So anyway, now I've spent enough time. Looks like we only have a small group tonight, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter. Uh, it's 11:17 here. I know some of you guys around the world are at different time zones, but again, I'm just going to talk briefly about my background and where I came from and how I got here. I think that a lot of people, it's good for you guys to like ask yourself that question. How did I get here? And it's good to spend a little bit of time reflecting on that. Um, and a lot of people do ask me, um, you know, how I got here. So it's uh, it's good to tell the little short story. So anyway, so let me start by just saying, guys, I wrestled in high school. I'm sure you guys knew that. Started wrestling in high school as a sophomore, and wasn't very good. And I was just okay, um, very average. I wouldn't consider myself good, but I was at like a regular school. It wasn't even a good school for wrestling. I had a great training partner. My buddy Juan Roman was a great training partner, and he kicked my ass every single day. And I could never really do anything to him for the most part. But I was probably the best partner that he had because the rest of our team was kind of terrible, and he was really good. So unfortunately, he and I were roughly the same weight. So I got better with him every single day, and he taught me a lot. And then it was right around the time, right when I started, the UFC had come out, so it was 1993, and just starting to learn how to wrestle. And I watched Hoist Gracie, and I'm sure like a lot of you guys have seen, I was right there at the ground floor of this kind of like roller coaster, and it just started. And I watched Hoist Gracie like fight, and I thought to myself, he's in a gi, like he's in this karate uniform, but he's doing, basically what I do. He's doing jujitsu or wrestling, And it seemed to me that jujitsu was like wrestling, except he's just choking people and armbarring them. So I thought that was kind of cool, but I still saw the double legs and the grappling control, the balance, taking the back, like putting your legs around someone, and it was so similar to wrestling that I felt like I was already doing it. I felt like I was doing jujitsu. I just needed to put my arms around somebody's neck and do something illegal and just choke them. So that was kind of my start, and it was crazy. But back then in the '90s, mid '90s, it's like 1994, '95. There was a Hickson Gracie school. There was an affiliate in my town, and they ended up having a couple guys. There was two gentlemen. They brought this boy that was my age, and they would come into the room and they trained jujitsu, and they would come in the wrestling room and wrestle around with my coach at the time, and you know, I would get choked out. He would choke me with my t-shirt, and I would take him down. Usually get the control on him, but he would choke me out, and I couldn't really submit him because he had a guard. He was probably just a white belt, but probably close to blue belt. I think he might have been a blue belt at one point, but it's hard to remember. So maybe he wasn't. Maybe he's just a decent white belt. But I ended up like getting my butt kicked a little bit, and then once I graduated in 1996, that's really when I started training the martial arts. And so I met my instructor, Robert Ferguson, and he was a Taekwondo guy who had trained a little bit with the Machados and learned some jiu-jitsu, trained a lot of videotape stuff. And um, he was a very good like athlete, and he was very good at teaching, and he could learn too. He was a good learner, not just a good teacher. But he like totally like just inspired me and got me interested in the martial arts, and I was learning taekwondo at the same time. He taught me some of the basics of boxing, and I started learning jiu-jitsu with him. So he was not a Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy, so I kind of had like a weird background. We were very eclectic. We kind of just did what works, and we trained leg locks, we trained neck cranks, we were training everything illegal. What is now illegal, like heel hooks and everything, was very normal. It was taught to white belts. When I would go to tournaments, nogi tournaments, we were doing heel hooks at the tournaments. Like it was a normal thing. So I'm not saying every tournament, but I, from my memory, I could have it wrong, but to my memory, we were doing heel hooks even in the beginner divisions. So I believe it was that way on all of the '90s. I think that they started to outlaw the leg locks in the early 2000s. Sometime around 2000 to early 2000s, they started not allowing the beginners to do heel hooks anymore. But the whole raping thing wasn't there. There was no such thing, and again, we were doing all the basic things that you still see today, but the advanced stuff that you see today didn't exist at all. Um, a lot of the stuff, Baron Bolos wasn't there. There was no, to be honest, there was no Dars. There was no, I learned an Anaconda, I think, in 1998 from a wrestler, from Joe Gonzalez. So I learned an Anaconda, I think, in '98, and started doing the Anaconda. Anaconda was a big move for me, but the Dars hadn't hit the scene yet. So then the Anaconda really took like hold sometime when Pride happened, and Noguera was pulling off the Anaconda. So that's kind of when the Anaconda got its name. Before that, I didn't have a name for it, but I learned it from a wrestler. So from an Olympic wrestler, Joe Gonzalez. He's the one that showed it to me first. I didn't learn it from anybody in jiu-jitsu. So, um, but the Dars kind of popped up for me sometime. I'm going over technique history now, but the Dars popped up for me in 2004. Evidently, Joe DRC was already obviously doing it, and maybe other people were doing it too. But guys, we had like almost all the videotapes back then, and whatever was put on video and in books, I would study it. I would just like my instructor would have this library of like videotapes, VHS, and I would go in and I would steal the VHS out of it, and I would leave the cover in the bookcase so that it would look like, if you hide the open end, it would look like it's still there. So I could literally like steal a video, take it home, watch it all night, and then the next day I would bring it back, and then I would grab another video, and until he finally found out I was stealing. I wasn't stealing; I was returning them. I was borrowing videotapes, and then he realized he saw me take one, or he knew I was taking them, and so he finally just kind of told me. I was young. I was like 18, 19, and I just he told me that you can just ask me if you want to borrow the videos. I'll let you borrow them. And at that time, I was kind of like sneaking, and so I thought that was like just an interesting, funny thing about my upbringing. So yeah, somebody just half guard techniques were very basic. Half guard bottom was pretty much from half guard, try to get back to full guard. Like from basically half guard, try to get back to full guard, and then there was half guard, pop and underhook, come up in the dog fight, take the back, stuff like that from half guard. Um, if the guy pushes into you too much, maybe you roll him. But there wasn't like it wasn't a refined technique for half guard. Half guard was fairly very little known. So most of the jujitsu techniques were guard techniques. Obviously, guillotines, arm bars, triangles, omoplatas. The omoplata was considered an advanced move. The omoplata was like, wow, it was a weird, crazy move, omoplata. And that was like in the advanced series on a videotape was the omoplata. And I kind of look back at that and I'm like, that's so funny. But I had a good wrestling background, so I learned very quick, and I started to get good really fast. So, to be honest, I was like, when I would do jujitsu, I already had 3 to 4 years of wrestling, and jujitsu. I always think it's around the 3 to 4 to 5 year mark. If you guys spend 3 to 4 to 5 years, you're gonna notice you're gonna get good, especially if you put in time and hard work. So you're gonna start to really understand um, anything, really, anything you do. But that's when things started to click. I started to feel my way through, and every time I learned jujitsu technique, it was like easy. It really didn't seem that hard. To be honest, I struggled in wrestling. I didn't struggle in jujitsu that much. At the time, there wasn't a lot of good jujitsu guys. There weren't black belts everywhere, guys. It wasn't like today at whatsoever. So a blue belt, I had a next door neighbor that was a blue belt, and that was totally like crazy. Like I have a blue belt for a neighbor. He moved in next door to me, and he was under Hickson Gracie, and I would learn a couple things from him, and the few things I learned, he wasn't as good as my coach, but my coach technically didn't have a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu lineage. But I learned a few things, and it's funny. I still have memories of things that he taught me, which I don't think are good, but it's what they taught back then. And blue belts back then actually seemed to be pretty good. Like when you don't know jiu-jitsu, a blue belt was like tough and strong. And I will say this though, even though the blue belts of today know more than the blue belts back then, the blue belts back then were tougher than the blue belts now, on average. I fully believe this. And again, they're not nearly as technical, but they were just. It was very hard to get a belt. Like you had to be kind of tough. And nowadays, I meet a lot of blue belts that seem to just be pushovers. You can kind of dominate them. And the blue belts back then were a little more gritty, but they definitely didn't have the technology we have today. So, anyway, I'm trying to read a little bit of the, yeah, I'll get guys, please. I'll try to get you're distracting me. I'll try to get back to that stuff. I'm gonna finish this story as quick as I can now. I'm gonna just fast forward as fast as I can. Guys, I started doing really well in competitions in the 90s. I was like winning quite a bit. I lost here or there, but very rarely did I lose. Someone actually asked me this the other day. They said, you know, how many times have you been tapped like in competition? And I didn't really ever think about it, but when I started to think about it, I was like, who's actually submitted me? I got submitted in my very first nogi tournament in the finals. So I got choked out with a guillotine. Um, I did get tapped by Victor Hunsaker in this like it's funny, he's the one that submitted me twice. He got me with a guillotine my first ever tournament. He was like maybe just a little bit bigger than me, 5 to 10 pounds. And then I later on grappled him again, like a year later, 2 years later, and it was like for this like title. It was I had like a belt on the line. It was in a boxing ring. It's kind of crazy. It was at like some karate event, and I ended up like going with him, and I didn't realize how much bigger he was because I had gotten a lot better. I had won like 25 matches in a row, and I hadn't lost. I hadn't even really been challenged. And since I lost to him, and I grapple him again in a competition, and dude, it's crazy. Like the weight difference was drastic. Like Victor Hensecker was way bigger than me, and I didn't even realize it until I got in the ring and I like grabbed a hold of him. I was like, "Oh my god, this guy's huge," and it looks like he'd been on something. But that's yeah, who knows? But that's what it looked like. So he was much bigger than me, and he ended up like I couldn't budge him. I was going in pretty confident in the beginning, and then honestly, he got in my head, and he was just so freaking strong. And I ended up jumping guard, going for a knee bar. It didn't work, and then he dropped back for a leg lock, and he ended up toe holding me. And dude, he was so nice to me. Let me tell you guys. Let me tell you guys this story. This is a cool story. So Victor Hunsaker, still remember his name. So if he's out there somewhere, I don't know. He's the guy that caught. He's subbed me twice. I've never been able to beat him. This was also way back in the 90s. And anyway, so Victor Hunsaker gets me in a toe hold. My coach is actually the referee of the match. They had my coach referee the match that I'm in, believe it or not. And he gets me in this. Maybe he felt pity on me because I was so tiny and he knew he could beat me at this point. He toe holded me. And when he pulled it back, I tried to knee bar him and his leg didn't budge. Like I couldn't even get the position at all. Like it was crazy. He dropped back, and I think I was trying to go for a leg lock, some type of heel hook or straight foot lock, and he grabbed the toe hold and bends it all the way to the point of submission. Now I feel it, but my brain first thought is don't tap, like try to get out. And he literally looks at me and the referee and tells the referee, my coach, and says, it's gonna break in a stone cold face, like a movie. He said that. It's gonna break. And I realized at that moment, you're right. It is gonna break. I cannot get out. It's tight. It's starting to hurt. I'm feeling pop, 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 just little clicks. And then I just tap out. And dude, that dude got in my head so bad that day. And I tapped, and that was it. And what else can I say? And I couldn't get out, but he was a beast. So yeah. Anyway, that's I got tapped by him twice, and then other than that, I believe I've only been submitted one more time, which I don't feel was legit submission. But I have one more submission that I got subbed, and I'll tell this. This one was with Darren Onyeyama. So if you guys don't know, he had like a couple fights, 1 or 2 fights in the UFC back in the day. Very good grappler under Ralph Gracie, and I lost a couple times to him. But the second time I lost him once on points, and then another time I lost to him. He I was like really going after it. I was trying to win. Thought I was doing pretty good in the early part of the match, but I wasn't scoring points. He ended up scoring points, a couple points on the board, and I was trailing by 2 like the entire match. And then towards the end of the match, he passes my guard, and I knew that winning was out of reach at that point. He passed my guard. He's holding me in side control, and I made the really crucial mistake of I just relaxed. I gave up. I gave up with 5 seconds on the clock. I looked at the clock. I saw clock ticking down 5, 4, and I gave up. he was holding me in side control. I gave up and I relaxed my arms. And when I relaxed my arms, I thought he was cool with me. I thought he wasn't going to do anything. He slapped on a Kimura and like straight elbow Kimured me at that point. And I tried to fight it like, what's going on? Like, dude, I'm just giving up. Like, I'm done. You win. And he ended up tapping me with 1 second on the clock. But I wouldn't got tapped. I gave up. I had given up because I looked at the score and I looked at the time and I knew he was holding me. And I just laid there in defeat, and he took advantage and subbed me, and I was kind of pissed. So Darren, if you're out there, I was kind of pissed at that. But I know you're a good guy. You're just a competitor. And look, I dropped my guard, but I personally felt at that moment, I think he should have recognized that I was basically submitting to him, and basically at that point I was shaking his hand. Commonly, you'll see in the sport of wrestling, not always, but sometimes in the sport of wrestling, in boxing, in the last few seconds, sometimes fighters will put their arms down and stare at each other and with a nod. You know what I mean? Just to say, hey, you did a good job. You beat me tonight, and that's what I tried to do. I was frustrated. I was emotional. I didn't want to lose. It was the first round of the tournament, and I hated that I had to draw him in the first round. He went on to win that bracket, and I came back, and I believe I got fifth. So anyway, um, it is what it is. I was at Grappling World Team Trials in 2007. So anyway, guys, I had a crazy long background. I've been training about 26 years. I had tons of influences. Um, I did a lot of learning through videos. I did a lot of learning going to seminars, learning from different people. I have tons and tons of influences, not just my instructor at the time, Robert Ferguson, but when going out on my own, I was very deeply inspired by Marcelo Garcia. So you guys will see a lot of the things that I do are very Marcelo-esque. I've stolen quite a bit from Marcelo. There's a lot of the things that I do that I've grabbed from him. I have lots of inspiration from tons of guys. Eddie Bravo, as much as I don't move like him, he and I knew each other back in the 90s. I met him in 1999. He was a purple belt. We both grappled at a tournament. It was the first time he ever pulled off a twister in nogi. It was actually at the tournament that my coach had put on. We put on a tournament in Oxnard, California. And if you guys have ever seen Eddie Bravo's twister video, um, he has clips of it, and he's grappling actually my teammate at the time, one of my teammates, and he twisters one of my teammates. I was in a weight class below. I won my division. He won his division. He did some cool shit. Like I said, he pulled off a twister. He pulled off a calf lock from the truck. So he was tearing guys up with his own stuff. And I've always been inspired by Eddie Bravo, as much as I don't like everything that he teaches or how they do things at 10th Planet. And really, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I don't like 10th Planet. I love him. But what I'm saying is, like, specifically Eddie Bravo, the way rubber guard and things like that, like, I don't do that stuff personally that much. I respect it. I just don't do it myself. So that's what I mean. But as much as I don't do a lot of things that Eddie Bravo does, I'm very inspired by his mind, by his genius, by his uh, the way he has taken grappling and like improved it in certain areas. I respect a ton. So, and there are things that I do use from Eddie Bravo. Now, actually, using the word 10th Planet is a totally different thing than Eddie Bravo. As much as Eddie Bravo's 10th Planet, 10th Planet is not Eddie Bravo anymore, because it's got now so much influence from so many others. So nowadays they have many other styles mixed in with it. Eddie Bravo would never do a leg lock to save his life back in the day, other than a calf crank. But now 10th Planet guys are crazy good at heel hooks and many other positions. So Eddie Bravo was like he's now like a small piece of the big 10th Planet puzzle. So and that's amazing if you think about it. look what Eddie's done. I mean, he's done so much for jiu-jitsu and grappling. So um, he's very influential, and I respect him a lot. Um, I wanted to say, mention just a few names. Saulo Ribeiro, Hobson Mora. These were all names of guys that like I looked up to a ton. I learned from. Um, I mean, I can't even Damian Maya. So many guys. There's so many, but I've taken little things from like 100 different jujitsu black belts, and so that have made me who I am. I in the more modern day Cobrinha. I started learning a lot from Cobrinha in 2007, 2008. Before he was even like nearly as big as he became, I was already watching him. Um, and there's lots of others. And then it kind of for me, the Mendez brothers was another big influence for me in the more recent years. And then obviously I got to mention Gary Tonin. So I just watching Gary Tonin is a whole nother thing now. But there's many guys that were influences. So I had, and I'll probably, if I keep thinking, I'll think about more influences and where I got certain um, things from. So um, anyway, in a nutshell, I did mention Felicia O. So I want to mention Felicia O. Felicia is a black belt under Jean-Jacques Machado, and when I met her, I had been training much longer than her, but she was the one with the pedigree in jiu-jitsu, and I was training with her back in like 2005, and we started training regularly. We were training every day together, and she wanted other small guys to train with, and then whatever. We no longer are like hanging out. We're not friends anymore too much. I mean, I'm friends with her, but we're just not hanging out as friends. And she's amazing as well. She's had a huge influence on me, and she said she was kind of like my technical connection to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. Although we don't train together anymore, and and all that, she still was a huge influence on my life. So I would love to mention her. So as you guys know, I opened, or maybe you guys don't know, I had my own school in Westlake Village. I started teaching there. I had a good group of guys there, but then I ended up, just due to circumstances I won't get into, I ended up moving out to Santa Clarita. Got hired by Big John McCarthy. If you guys don't know who Big John McCarthy is, he's the famous referee for the UFC. For a long time, he was like the only referee for a long time for the UFC. Pretty much um, did almost all the fights for a very long time until others came along, like Mario Yamasaki, Steve Mazzagatti, and so on and so forth. So many more came after that. Herb Dean. Herb Dean was a guy that was reffing the smaller shows. I used to train with Herb Dean quite a bit back in the day. So much influence. But well, I forgot what I was going to say. I was at Big John's for 8 years, and then Big John's gym closed down, and then that's when, right around that time, I left, and then I opened PG, Peterson Grapplers. I've been open for just over 4 years, and now I've got my own place, and I'm running it, and I'm doing this YouTube channel, and somehow I'm here. Somehow I'm here, and you guys are listening to me. So we've got 31, 30 people in the chat, and it's kind of cool. So guys, I'm really glad that I have so many people that support me. We've got, I don't know, 77,000 subscribers now. Granted, not all of them are watching all the videos all the time, but it doesn't matter what I put out nowadays. I can pretty much put a video with me eating a bowl of cereal, and I'm probably going to get 1,000 to 2,000 of you guys to watch it. So it's pretty cool. And thank you guys so much. So I'll try to answer a few questions. I see that I'm gonna try to go back, guys. Please don't ask a bunch of questions, because I got a lot already on my plate right here. So otherwise, I'm gonna get lost. So I'm gonna try to go through this. Me and my buddy 357 Kill Bill says, me and my buddy were going over that Honey Meister you did a couple days ago tonight. That's cool. Yeah, guys, we totally. I'm sorry, I totally blundered on that. As far as like, I didn't even know that the 10 Planet guys were calling it the honey stick. That was like, I feel like we had this great thing, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, they already do it. But the thing is I still say they were doing it as a counter to the honey hole. So, which I feel like they must have grabbed and stole from the uh, Gordon Ryan Keenan Cornelius match. If I'm wrong, somebody let me know. But I don't. As far as I can tell, tracing it back, I can't find anything before that, at least documented on the internet. So it looks like they watched what Gordon Ryan did and Keenan did, and they basically just started training it and duplicating it. But you can use that move a lot more ways, guys. And I don't think it's totally clear yet. I think more people need to investigate. I could be wrong for sure. I probably am. I was wrong about even the move itself. So, but there's a lot of good stuff off that that I'm still pulling off in training, and obviously the best guys in the world may be able to counter it, but guess what? You're probably not going to go against the best guys in the world. You know, you're probably going to go against the average guy, and even I guarantee you, if you play with the average blue purple belt, you're probably going to tap them out with it. So, um, do you think Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu will shut down Khabib's wrestling? Uh, Honestly, guys, no, I don't think so. So Jackaroo MMA wants to know. I don't think so. I think that Khabib is not just a wrestler anymore. Um, I think Khabib is well versed in jiu-jitsu now. I'm not saying he's able to perform jiu-jitsu, like the next world champion, like Damian Maia or something, but he knows he's not going to be susceptible to Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu all that much. Now, Tony Ferguson's elbows, that's a different story. But Tony Ferguson's jiu-jitsu, no, I don't think is going to totally surprise Khabib. So I think Tony would be, um, it would be advised for Tony to use his wrestling to try to shut down Khabib's wrestling, not his jiu-jitsu. I still don't think the answer is to just flop to your back. See, a lot of people always say everybody's trying to avoid the takedown and they can't. So Tony should just play jiu-jitsu. Like, guys, don't don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying he shouldn't try. Of course he should try. But what I'm trying to say is first, don't get taken down. Just because other guys have been unsuccessful doesn't mean that you can't stop them. If you prevent Khabib from pushing you into a fence, he doesn't have the greatest ability to take everybody down the middle of the cage. It's almost always primarily up against the fence. I think if Tony knows how to not back up, and if he does train against the fence for a while and learn how to move off of the fence and also scrambling back up, it is possible to stifle him. Tony Ferguson's a decent wrestler, fairly decent wrestler. Um, I know Khabib is definitely better. I would consider him better at wrestling, but styles make matchups, guys. And Tony Ferguson's possible to avoid the takedown, maybe get taken down a couple times, but get back up. Maybe use a little bit of jiu-jitsu, use a little bit of elbows from his back and scrambling ability that he has to get back up, and then eventually just basically stop Khabib from doing his thing. That's what you need to do. I don't think the answer is to just let him take you down and then play guard, for example. That I don't think is a good strategy for anyone. But other than Ryan Hall, so Ryan Hall's a dangerous man. Don't mess with him. So all right. Anyway, the '90s jiu-jitsu guys are the baddest ass teachers. Yeah, my coach was actually a pretty good teacher, you guys. He was sharp. He was sharp at seeing technique. He would actually teach better than a lot of the Brazilians that were in America. They would teach jiu-jitsu, and it was so hard to understand them. But my coach could actually grab the technique from them very easily and then regurgitate it to us, to me and my fellow teammates. And I learned. I learned pretty quick. So, but again, there almost wasn't even that much out there. So we drilled the same shit every single day, all time. So, hip escaping down the floor over and over, getting good at hip escaping. So, all right. So, moving on. In between MMA rounds, many coaches are telling their fighters to take big, slow breaths. They also put ice on the neck and back. I've been told it's a mistake from a paramedic. Can you investigate? Music asks. I can investigate. My personal feeling, guys, again, I am not an expert. This is not backed up by science. This is anecdotal evidence from a coach and a former fighter and grappler. Um, I would say in between rounds, you need to take breaths, big, big. I don't know about slow breaths. I don't want to breathe slow. I want to breathe that air in and I want to get it I don't want to slow my breath so I'm not getting I want to get the oxygen. But what I do want to do is relax, sort of calm everything down and slow everything down. So my breathing would be so if that's big slow breaths, then I do agree with big slow breaths. Like I do not want to go and just do that. I want to breathe nice and deep and I want to relax as I do it. I want to try to calm myself down. So, especially if you're really going, relaxing is a big part of fighting. You got to know how to relax. Now, putting ice on the neck and the back, um, I don't know too much about that. I know that we do it. I know it's kind of like a normal thing. Um, I've done it before with my fighters. Um, you know, I don't know. No science. I don't have anything on that. I just know breathing is good. You got to breathe. Okay. Those black PG sweats you're wearing in one of your videos are dope. Thank you, Greg Martinez. If you guys would like to order any sweats or things, just send me an email right now. Again, guys, I still don't have a store up. I'm sorry, but send me an email and I'll try to get it out to you. I still got to get some stuff out to Keith Romer. He's out there in Florida, and I owe him a rash guard. So, anyway, what do I think about Korean Zombie versus T City? I don't. I can't. It's hard for me to comment, guys. I don't watch everything. I'm sorry, I'm not the most well versed coach. I like on all the guys out there, so I don't know if I can really comment on that. But they're both obviously really good. I'm sorry, I don't want to answer that because I don't know, and I don't like to make predictions on things I don't know about. Um, is jujitsu more effective than wrestling in your opinion? Self defense. Um, yeah, self defense against the average Joe. Mm, you know what? I would have to say yes. Jiu-jitsu is more effective than wrestling self defense. The reason why is because jiu-jitsu is made for self-defense. Wrestling is a sport. Most wrestlers would do fine in a self-defense situation. But the thing that jiu-jitsu offers against the average Joe is you could literally choke the average Joe out like that. Like it's proven all the time, guys. Anybody who walks into jiu-jitsu school, and if you're just a blue belt, you usually will play with anybody. Even if the guy's a big, strong guy. If the guy's a big, strong guy, you're 150 pounds and you're a blue belt. The guy comes in and he's like 190, 40 pounds bigger than you. You start tangling with him, and before you know it, like it doesn't take long, a minute or two or 3 minutes, and that 190 pounder doesn't know where he is. He makes a mistake, he gets tired, and you guillotine choke him, or he lands into your triangle. The thing is, a wrestler will do great in a self-defense situation, but the blue belt equivalent in wrestling, the blue belt equivalent as a wrestler, what he does in the fight with the 190-pound guy when you're 150 is he may get a takedown, but he will control the guy a little bit, but he won't exactly know how to finish the fight. And you also have the big man versus little guy thing where sometimes the 190 pounder, if he's athletic, he may sprawl like by accident, on a 150-pound wrestler. And if he just kind of gets on top and just smashes him, the wrestler doesn't have the tools to deal with being on the bottom. And jujitsu gives you those tools. It gives you the basics for self-defense, guard on bottom, side control on top, passing the guard, going to the mount on top, and when your opponent turns the back, jump on the back with the hooks and choke. The wrestler has the ability to take people down, but you practice pinning. So I think that they most of the time will have a really good advantage in a street fight, especially when size is not an issue. But when size is an issue, I would much rather have jujitsu. Um, when you're giving up 100 pounds, usually when a wrestler gives up 100 pounds, like I said, just think about blue belt level of wrestling versus uh, a guy who's 100 pounds bigger. You're probably not going to be able to finish the guy. Like you're going to struggle. And the big strong guy in a fight, you could lose. A jiu-jitsu guy could lose too, but he at least has the tools to do a finish. And it is very common, guys. One guy's 150, and then a 250-pound guy walks in the room for his first day of training. And what happens? He goes with a 150-pound blue belt, and it takes him a while, but the 150-pound blue belt slides out, take the backs, and chokes him out because he has the tools to go for a finish. And for that reason, I give jiu-jitsu the advantage for self-defense over wrestling. You know what's better? Having both. All right. So let's see. Let's move on. Okay, the guy just held it tight. Oh, okay. What kind of strength and conditioning training is good for grappling? Strength and conditioning, guys. Lightweight reps, high reps. Pick up a barbell. Pick up a barbell with maybe a 45-pound bar. Pick up a 45-pound barbell. No weights on it. What I want you guys to do, we call these Ironmans. Maybe I'll do a video on this. Overhead press. Don't put the bar down. Do 10 of them. Keep the bar, put it behind your head. Do some squats, 10 squats with the barbell. Lift it off in front of you. Do curls 10 times. Okay. Do bent over row. Go back to military press. Okay. Go back to behind the neck. Do some lunges. Standing in place. Just drop your knee back. Drop your knee. Kiss the floor with your knee. And do lunges back and forth. Alternate. Pull it back in front. Do military press. Go to curls. Go to reverse curls. Guys, it's endless. You guys can do, and you never put the bar down. If you guys do that, we call those Ironmans. Back in the day, in the wrestling days, you do that for 10 minutes. Try doing it for 10 minutes. If you can do a 10-minute Ironman, do it for 20 minutes. Do it for 15. When you put that bar down, the rule is the bar never goes down till you're done. You put that bar down, your forearms are going to be crushed, and you're going to be exhausted all over the place. It's incredible for grappling strength and endurance. So that's a serious tip right there. Maybe I'll do a video on that someday soon in the future. So many more things you guys can do, but sprints are great. I love wind sprints. Help get my guys in shape. All right. I don't think everyone has the flexibility to do every Eddie Bravo style. If you can, then that's great, but not for everyone. 100% agree. So Pizzulo mentions. Totally agree. Not everybody has the flexibility. Guys, Eddie Bravo is a naturally flexible person. There are guys out there that have that. I have a student I call Mantis, Brian Meyer. He's incredibly flexible, guys, naturally. He does not stretch. He is just a Gumby flexible naturally. I had him stretch and try the splits the other day. He can't do it. He can't do the splits because he hasn't worked on that. And the way his body is naturally flexible, it's flexible in the butterfly stretch. It's flexible in other ways. So just find that interesting. Hugo Boy, coach, do you think BJJ in the future will ever evolve to be strictly for MMA and not for BJJ tournaments? No. I do not think that BJJ in the future will evolve to be taught strictly for MMA. No, that would be MMA class, but not jiu-jitsu like BJJ. BJJ has taken a turn, and I don't see it. This stock called BJJ, I see it going in this direction Guys, it's a full-fledged sport. It's kind of like karate in that it's not gonna become kickboxing. Kickboxing and karate went like that, and I'm talking about American style kickboxing. Karate and kickboxing, they went away, and then karate's over here. It's not going to become kickboxing. You have now two separate things: kickboxing, karate, and guess what? You got jujitsu, and you got MMA, grappling, jujitsu. So there's some crossover for sure. But BJJ tournaments, people don't want to get hit in the face. Why do they want to get hit in the face? They'd might rather grapple, which I totally understand. Who'd want to get it in the face? So let's be honest. BJJ is so diverse. It's diverse. Even without strikes, whether gi, whether no gi, you have tons and tons of technique you can do. You don't need to add striking to it. It's crazy on its own. It's its own thing. It's like boxing. Will boxing never become MMA boxing? No, boxing's boxing. And they're not going to want to add kicks, and they're not going to want to add takedowns. They want to box. So BJJ is now its own thing, and it has diverged, completely detached from mixed martial arts into its own discipline 100%. The old school jiu-jitsu guys was very MMA minded. It was self-defense MMA. Vale Tudo. That's what it was back in the day. It is not like that anymore. So guys are not worrying about strikes whatsoever. Okay, so how does he use the fence when most people try to get to the fence to get back up? I assume you're talking about Tony Ferguson. How does he use the fence? Yeah, well, he's just because other guys have failed again, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. That's how a lot of people think, and it's just a wrong mindset. This is just a really big problem where people just armchair quarterback it, and they say, "Oh, Khabib gets takedown every time when you're up against." No, he doesn't get the takedown every time when he's up against the fence. If you know how to defend, so if you put in enough work, okay, could Khabib take down Khabib? There's the question. So if we had another Khabib, would Khabib be able to take down the other Khabib if he pushed that Khabib against the fence? I would assume since it's Khabib versus Khabib, things would cancel out. They would equal. So if Khabib is good enough to stop Khabib from taking Khabib down, then why can't you do it? Why can't someone else? I'm sick and tired of people idolizing Khabib to a point. They put him up on a pedestal so high that they just think of him as such an elite status that nobody can beat him. And this is just the wrong way to think, guys. He is amazing, but stop talking like he can't be beat. It's just ridiculous. There is a guy out there that would kick Khabib's ass. We just don't know who he is yet. Some people think it's Tony Ferguson. Maybe it is. But this is one thing I know. There is 7 billion plus people on the planet. The odds are, guys, that we have determined the greatest fighter on the planet in a weight class. The odds that we have the correct guy are slim. It's slim. Yes, he is one of them. Yes, he's without a doubt. I would say it probably in the I would bet money he's in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5. But it would not surprise me that there is a guy out there. I don't know who he is. I don't know his name. But this is true of anything, guys, any weight class. Sometimes we have the top guy, but there are a lot of times where we just don't know, and that guy is out there. When nobody knew who Anderson Silva was, guys, he wasn't on anybody's radar. When nobody knew who Anderson Silva was. And all of a sudden, he walked into the UFC, and he showed everybody that, he made guys look stupid. Like they couldn't even fight at all. That's how he made them look. And Khabib has done the same thing. For a while, Conor was doing that. But you guys notice how Conor, he didn't stay up there very long. It all of a sudden now it's Khabib. And now everybody's going to go Khabib, Khabib, Khabib. That's what they're saying. And this is with all the respect in the world, guys. I am no way saying that I'm better than him or he's not good. Or no. What I'm trying to get you guys to understand is there is another Khabib. While Khabib is up here, there's a Khabib coming up. The next Khabib. I don't know what his name is. Maybe he's from Dagestan, if that'll make you happy. But he's there. And guess what? He could beat Khabib right now. We just don't know who he is. And he doesn't have the opportunity. That's how this world works, guys. We just don't know. And then all of a sudden, he creeps up, and then everybody's going to go, oh, Khabib was past his prime. He was old. Maybe that is the reason. Or maybe this guy just didn't have his opportunity. It's crazy, but this is the real world we live in, guys. There's a lot of people on this planet, and there are dudes out there, and we just don't know who they are. They're out there though, and they're hungry. They're training, and they want to be the best. I mean, when you guys think about, like, just an example, when Conor McGregor was coming up, nobody even knew who he was. He just like popped up out of nowhere, and literally in a very short time, rose to the top and made everybody look stupid along the way. So there's somebody out there. There's always my dad told me this when I was a kid, and guys, I know you probably heard it before, but I'm gonna say it again. Remember, there is always, always, always somebody bigger and better out there. It doesn't matter, guys. There's always somebody big. When you're up at the top of the mountaintop, there's somebody gonna knock you right off on your ass, and they're always out there, and you just don't always see them. Sometimes they don't get the opportunity, and then eventually they do. And then you have Khabib. That's how we got him. So, all right, enough. Moving on. Let's see. What? Okay, fights are okay. Oh, ONE FC's having a YouTube channel. That's cool. Um, what about if you add some catch to the wrestling coach? Mhm. Guys, this catch wrestling subject, I have a cool interview I got to drop that I did with Jake Shannon on the subject of catch wrestling. Um, I got to edit the video, but I'll drop it when I get a chance. Why don't you add some catch? Now, guys, look, back in the day when I was learning jiu-jitsu, grappling, whatever, I had an influence from catch wrestling too. So I did have an influence. I was learning from Eric Paulson. There's another one. I learned at Go Course, Gene LaBelle. I learned from these guys. Um, so I had influence from those guys. Guys, catch wrestling's awesome. I'm not saying it's terrible, but there's a lot of stuff that just kind of like it's evolved over the years. It's gotten a lot better. The stuff in the 90s was so bad. A lot of it was horrible. So I'm not saying everything was bad, but there was a lot of bunk, just a real bad technique that was coming out of the catch wrestling stuff. It just wasn't very effective. Now, all I'm saying is much of what I do, some people say, oh, that's catch, whatever. Maybe roots are catch. I honestly, guys, I don't care. Um, to me, grappling's grappling. If it came from catch, that's great. Here's what I say: take what's useful, um, throw out the stuff that doesn't work at all. If it's somewhat useful, then keep it. More knowledge is usually good, unless it clouds your thinking. If you're trying to use a bunch of catch wrestling moves that only work on guys that don't know how to wrestle or grapple, then I think you are not spending your time wisely. I would try to always approach it as be as technical as possible and use techniques that are going to help you. And again, guys, it's not that I hate catch wrestling. I'm a wrestler myself, so I like, but I look at it objectively, and I just don't see a lot of catch wrestlers being able to perform well at high levels. So, granted, there isn't a whole lot of catch wrestling out there. So, I know I'm going to hurt catch wrestling's feelings right now, but I'll talk more about it later. And guys, I'm a supporter of catch wrestling. I just when people ask me about it, I get a little frustrated because wrestling, amateur wrestling, folk style and freestyle Greco, those have been refined in their own way. Catch wrestling has diverged, and now we have folk style wrestling, and we have freestyle Greco, the international styles, and catch wrestling has gone over to here. And because maybe not enough people were working on it for so many years, it has just taken a hit. The stock has just gone down so much. And now they're trying to revive it, which I'm in full support of. But um, I think this still has some growing up to do. And I feel like the science of it has just, I think it's long overdue for an upgrade. So anyway, I think it needs to not shun away the jujitsu. I think it needs to add jujitsu techniques and ideas of modern day into catch wrestling, and as well, jujitsu needs to add the catch wrestling techniques into jujitsu. But I feel nowadays, I feel that jujitsu is a lot more open minded. I've just seen way too many catch wrestling guys be closed minded. Personally, this is what I've seen. So hopefully, I'm not offending too many of you guys. Why do BJJ schools always have the classes at 10 a.m., 6 p.m.? Most people work during these hours. Wish there was a late class like 10 p.m. Yeah, that's a good idea. I gotta go to bed though, or do my YouTube channel up at 12:10 in a.m. But but that's a good question, Smith. 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. I do 7 p.m. So that way, a lot of people who get off work, they can come to the 7 p.m. class. So that's how I see it. Anyway, Phenom tape, best BJJ tape. Cool. Have you heard of Open Owl? Uh, it's a learning program. Open AI or Open Owl? It's a learning program that plays against itself millions of times. Any rules you want. It can beat the world championship champion of 2 video games. Imagine that for a fighting sport. Okay. Do you think combat jiu-jitsu has created in order to evolve jiu-jitsu to the point where it will dominate MMA like the early days by eliminating bad habits involved when using jiu-jitsu? Yes. 123 Tom Woods. I think combat jiu-jitsu is a great look at how to evolve jiu-jitsu. When you watch combat jiu-jitsu, it takes away the sport jiu-jitsu that we see, that we feel, the black belts of the world feel that jiu-jitsu has gone in a bad direction. Combat jiu-jitsu solves that just by having open hand slaps. That's all you got to do to make jiu-jitsu a lot more real. So I think it's good. Techniques that don't consider strikes. Best example would be leg locks. Yeah. Okay, can you please do a video on how to keep the back control and counter common escapes? Yes, S. Smith, I'll try to do that soon. Quick definition, catch wrestling versus wrestling. Okay, T.O. Cochran asks, okay, catch wrestling. Guys, okay, originally there was wrestling, which in America we called, assuming, I don't know the perfect history, but somewhere back in Europe, you have catches, catch can. So in America, we have catches, catch can wrestling. And then little by little, they started to make this sport and eliminate the dangerous techniques, um, throw out the dangerous holds of catch wrestling, catches, catch can. And it became a sport of pinning, basically, only. Pinning, taking out the submissions one by one, little by little. And wrestling has added so many rules now. Wrestling has a ton of rules in it that you can't do this, you can't do that. I mean, literally, just in the last couple of years, folk style rules have added so many things. Referees nowadays freak out over a body scissor. You can really hurt someone with a body scissor, but they you can't do a body scissor and squeeze your opponent anymore. You can do it, you can squeeze them a little bit, but if you make them squeal, it's now an illegal hold in folk style wrestling. So like, there's so many things you can't do anymore. Locking hands calls, can't lock around. This is folk style. Once you're on the mat, you can't lock around your opponent's torso. Full Nelsons are illegal. Body triangle, figure four of the body is illegal. Can't figure four the head, can't scissor the head. You can't do all these things. So original catch wrestling has all these illegal techniques. When you do a chicken wing in wrestling, you can't take it illegal. Again, a lot of these things have been around for quite a while. In folk style, these rules. Not all of them are new. But catch wrestling is basically the heart of wrestling, the root of the folk style wrestling that we do, and it includes the submissions, the neck cranks, the face locks, the illegal cross faces, the illegal chicken wings, the submission holds. Um, so original has all that, and but again, it's almost like watching, in my opinion, when I see the old catch wrestlers, it's much more similar to watching um, old school, super old school basketball, like from the early 1900s. It was good. It was still good basketball, but they wouldn't be able to beat the NBA players of today, which I don't expect. The catch wrestlers of the early 1900s, they would not be able to beat like Gordon Ryan would be able to beat the catch wrestlers from back in the day. They would have no understanding to deal with what Gordon Ryan would throw their way. But that's not their fault. I mean, it's a different era. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. How long does it take to be a decent BJJ? To say I can defend myself easily against an athletic dude. Um, do they teach takedowns in BJJ schools? One of the problems, they don't at a lot of them. You got to get to a good school, guys. There's a lot that do teach takedowns, but there's also a lot that don't. They start on their knees. I don't know the percentage, but there's a large percentage because I keep meeting people that come to my school and they all go, "Oh, they don't teach us takedowns. They don't." So that's all I'm hearing. I know there's schools that teach takedowns. All you gotta do is go to competitions. When you go to jiu-jitsu comps, you got all these schools. They teach takedowns. A lot of them do. You got a few that don't, but most of them teach takedowns. But it seems like the academies that don't compete at all, a lot of them are super, super soft, and they just grapple on their knees, and they don't teach takedowns. So how long does it take to be decent? That really depends on you, brother. You guys gotta if you're a quick learner, I mean, it could take anywhere between 6 months and a couple years, you know, I would say, if you're at a good spot. So, but it really depends on you. When I had been training for 6 months, it wasn't really good measurement because I already had some wrestling. But once I was doing jiu-jitsu for 6 months, guys, I was pretty good. And I was only 135 pounds, but I was pretty solid. I mean, like it didn't matter if they were 250. I was 135 pounds and I was tapping everybody that walked in the door. So anyway, what does your first week, month of class jiu-jitsu look like? One specific submission, pin escapes. Your first week, month of class. Ugh. Guys, well, I'm teaching different things. I might be teaching how to get out, how to escape stuff. I might be teaching a submission or two, couple. For me at my place, because we're training, and I'm not catering to a first day beginner all the time. You're in the class, you're learning what everybody else is learning. I try to dumb it down for everybody to learn, no matter who you are. But you could be learning, like right now. I'll tell you what you're learning for the last month. All I'm doing is half guard. We always do a little bit of takedowns at the beginning, but we're doing half guard. So that's what you're learning. It really can change, primal. Depends. Do you think it's a good idea to keep a diary to remember all the techniques you teach? Or for class, should we rep out one of the videos in the open mat class and just keep repeating it? Nick Byrne asks. Yes, that would be great. Um, I don't do that, but I think that's a good idea. So, guys, not everybody is gonna be like me. I don't think I'm ultra special. Like I do think that you guys can be like me if you work hard. But what I'm saying by I'm a little different. Like for some reason, I keep a lot up here. I never write anything down. I never record anything other than my YouTube videos now, but which help. But guys, like for some reason, I can hold on to Get tired. A large amount of techniques I can hold in my head and use them at my disposal. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys, even high level guys, they tend to just do the good things that the things that they're good at. Most of them. I seem to have like lots of moves that I'm good at. I'm not good at everything, but I seem to have a pretty good feel for tons of techniques. And if you open up something, some type of position, my brain will get sparked with the correct response in order to catch you in something. And I flow really well into a lot of different things. And that's just me. So I tend to do it better than most. And so for me, I don't have to write stuff down. I have it. I sometimes I can take many days or weeks or even months off the mat, and I come back and I feel like it's like riding a bike. I just go right back to it. I tend to do it better than most people. Most people get what we call ring rust in the fight game, and they get rusty. I don't seem to get very rusty. Maybe a little bit, but not a whole lot. It tends to bounce back really, really quick. So, how long have I been learning BJJ? Question. As I mentioned earlier, I think total is like 23 years, I would say. So, Kobe versus Usman. Who do you pick if you had to put money on it? I don't know. Again, this is going to be a good fight. I'm excited to watch it. I don't like if I had to put money, I would probably have to just close my eyes and pick. I would probably pick Usman if I had to put money, but I don't. I think it's a toss up. So I don't know enough about those two fighters to make a pick. But if I had to pick, I would probably pick Usman because he's just an absolute incredible athlete. Kobe might be the better all around guy, but Usman looks amazing with his takedowns. When I saw him fight Tyrone Woodley. Anyway, have you used BJJ in a real fight before? How did it go? Yeah, I have. So, um, let me. This is gonna have to be one of the last, one of the last questions, guys. I'm getting exhausted. It's well over an hour. Um, I have used BJJ in a real fight. Well, I got in a fight at kind of like a job site when I was an electrician. Construction workers. People pick on you when you're like do jujitsu and you fight a little bit. So yeah, I took a guy down and I put him in an armbar in a real situation, and I made him tap and made him scream. So I let go of his arm. I probably stretched it quite a bit. He was probably sore for a few days. Um, Turns out at the end of the fight, we became friends after that. We were okay. I mean, we're not like friends, but we were cool after that. And I also got robbed by three guys in ski masks once, and I used a little bit of wrestling. So that's a long story. I've told it before, but maybe I'll tell it again sometime in the future. So definitely martial arts has helped me. But overall, I avoid street fights. Don't try to get in them. If it's bound to happen again in the future, if it ever happens again, I'm sure, I hope that I'll be able to utilize it very well and come away without getting hurt, which is always the number one goal is personal safety. And then, obviously after that, hopefully I can win the fight. But in the beginning, at least, you want to use your martial arts training to not get your ass kicked is always number one. Not die. How about not die? Not get fucked up too bad. Not get knocked unconscious. These are the number one goals. And then if you can cover all those bases, protect yourself, then you got to do some damage and end the threat. Sometimes you do the first part by ending the threat in the first place. Anyway, are you going to watch Fedor fight this month? I would love to. I would love to watch him. Um, he's pretty amazing. Do you have a default system you employ? Obviously, you are good enough to adapt to your opponent's reactions, but against an unknown opponent, this is a good question. What is your go-to high percentage strategy? Um, okay. DJ Pollution, thank you. Good night. 123 Tom Woods asks this great question. Do you have a default system you employ? Guys, here's what the default is. Take your opponent down. Don't give up a takedown. I'm always trying to take my opponent down. If I don't know who he is, I'm going to feel him out, try to take him down. If I can take him down, I'm going to try to pass his guard. If I pass his guard, I'm going to go to my basic system in side control mount, which is generally, for me, it involves somehow getting to the back is a huge part of my game. Guys, the rear naked choke is got to be my best submission. I can rear naked choke just about anyone. There's obviously best guys in the world. Maybe I can't choke them, but the overwhelming population, 99% of the human population, I can rear naked choke. More 99% plus. They're not gonna get out. When I get on somebody's back, I'm gonna rear naked choke you. So this is the easiest. You can do it no matter what anybody's size is. The rear naked choke. So that's big go-to for me. If somebody's so big I cannot take them down, and I'm forced to be on my back in a grappling situation, obviously I would want to get slammed at some point during the situation. It is possible. I could pull guard. I'm pretty damn good off my back too, especially versus 99% of the population. I'm going to be able to play off my back and do very well. It's probably going to involve some type of basic guard type sweep submission attack with arm bars, triangles, omoplatas, shooting up leg locks, and then adding in tons of sweeps. Butterfly game is huge for me. Um, going into a sweep, getting back on top, passing the guard. Again, guys, I usually won't go for leg locks on top very much. Usually a leg lock is started from the bottom for me, but I will do them on top on occasion. But usually once I'm on top, it's going to be dominate past the guard. It's kind of what Gordon Ryan does nowadays. Mount you, take your back, choke you. I think that's the best plan. Get to the mount in a real fight, punch them in the face, make them turn their back, choke them. So on top, I'm really good with darces, guillotine chokes, but there's so many things I can do. So, but if I had to pick one move, 100%, it's the rear naked choke that I believe in and it's good for the majority of people. Even if you're not good at this kind of rear naked choke, you guys could be good at the palm to palm. If you got bigger arms, shorter limbs, you can always rear naked choke people. So, all right, DJ Pollution, go watch RNC tutorials. I got some good stuff. Watch my RNC stuff. I think it's solid. I still have more I can show on that too. Yeah, the second I think about it, I haven't shown everything. I got tons of little tricks up my sleeve. I can't wait to show you guys more in the future. So, guys, thank you so much. Again, I thank you guys all. There's so many people in the comment section I haven't answered. I think I'm going to have to do another YouTube live soon. And I'll just do a YouTube live where I answer comments because I haven't been able to reply to everything. It'll be a lot easier to do through video format. So I'll do that soon. I'm sorry I didn't do a video tonight. This is what you get, me yapping. Thank you guys, and keep training hard. And no, I don't have a podcast. Thank you guys. This is my podcast. So I appreciate you. I'll be bringing more to you in the future as much as I can, guys. I want to give you everything. So my goal is before I die, I got to get everything that I have in my head. So it's going to take a long time. So I got to hurry. See you guys. Have a good night. Take it easy.